Chapter 10. Krishna's departure to Dvāraka. In the grand assembly of sages, Saunaka, the revered elder, turned to Suta with a question brimming with curiosity and reverence. "Tell me, O wise one," he began, his voice carrying the weight of wonder, "how did the illustrious Yudhishthira, the paragon of Dharma, the one who reclaimed his rightful throne after vanquishing the vile usurpers, govern his vast kingdom? What were his deeds after regaining his sovereignty?" Suta, ever the eloquent storyteller, smiled and began to weave his tale. "Listen, O Saunaka, and all who are gathered here. Hari, the supreme benefactor of his devotees, did not abandon the house of Kuru even after it was ravaged by the great war, the internecine strife that had all but consumed it. Like a wildfire that destroys a forest but leaves the seeds of new life in its wake, the Kuru lineage too was rejuvenated. Through his divine grace, Pariksit, the last scion of the Kuru house, was brought back to life, and Yudhishthira was established firmly on his throne. Hari, the ever-benevolent, was filled with joy as he saw Yudhishthira rule over his rightful kingdom once more." The sage continued, his voice resonating with the grandeur of the events. "Yudhishthira, whose mind was cleared of all delusions after receiving the wisdom of Bhishma and the guidance of Krishna, ruled the earth as justly as Indra governs the heavens. With Krishna as his steadfast ally and his valiant brothers by his side, Yudhishthira's reign was one of peace and prosperity. The skies showered rain in due season, the earth yielded bountiful harvests, and the cows, their udders full, drenched the earth with milk. Rivers flowed freely, mountains stood tall, and every tree and plant flourished, offering their bounty as if in homage to the righteous king. In his reign," Suta continued, "there was no sorrow, no disease, no natural calamity. The very elements seemed to be in harmony, and every being, whether human, animal or celestial, was free from pain and suffering." Suta's voice softened as he spoke of the tender bond between the Pandavas and Krishna. For the sake of his beloved friends and to console his sister Subhadra, Krishna lingered in Hastinapura. But the time came when he sought to return to Dwaraka. With a heavy heart, Yudhishthira gave him leave. The Pandavas and all those who loved him, Subhadra, Draupadi, Kunti, Uttara, Gandhari, Dhritarashtra, Yuyutsu, the twins Nakula and Sahadeva, and others, could not bear to see him go. Their hearts were weighed down with the sorrow of separation, and even the strongest among them found it hard to hold back their tears. "Such is the nature of love," Suta mused. "Once a person's heart is touched by the divine, it is forever changed." The Pandavas, who had walked, talked and lived with Krishna, were now left with a void that could not easily be filled. As Krishna departed, they followed him with their minds and their hearts, unable to tear their gaze from his form, until at last he was out of sight. The storyteller's words painted a vivid picture of the scene. As Krishna mounted his chariot, the city of Hastinapura echoed with the sound of drums and conch shells. The streets were lined with people, all straining to catch a final glimpse of their beloved lord. The women of the Kuru household, standing atop the palace walls, showered flowers upon him, their eyes filled with love, but also with the pain of parting. Arjuna, his dearest friend, held a white umbrella over him, while Uddhava and Satyaki fanned him on either side. The sky seemed to rain blessings upon him, as even the learned Brahmanas, who knew the nature of the Supreme, could not help but offer prayers and praises to him. Suta's voice became more reflective. "Oh, how could the hearts of the Pandavas bear such a separation? How could they, who had entrusted their very souls to Krishna, endure the loss of his presence? For to see him was to see the world in its truest form. To hear his words was to understand the deepest truths. But Krishna, the eternal, the ever-compassionate, continued on his way, knowing that his time in Hastinapura had come to an end." Suta spoke of the journey that lay ahead. Yudhishthira, anxious for the safety of Krishna, sent a formidable army to escort him, knowing that dangers lurked even on the safest paths. And though the Kauravas, out of love and duty, followed him far beyond the city, Krishna gently persuaded them to return, bidding them farewell with a smile. And so, passing through the lands of the Kurus, the Jangalas, the Pankalas and beyond, Krishna and his retinue made their way westward. They journeyed through deserts and across arid plains, greeted by the peoples of each region with gifts and homage. As the sun dipped into the ocean, they finally arrived in Ananta, the kingdom beyond Sauvira and Abhira. Sutta paused, allowing the images he had conjured to settle in the minds of his listeners. And so it was that the divine Krishna, who had walked among mortals, whose presence had blessed the earth and all its creatures, returned to his own city, leaving behind a world that would forever remember his time among them. With these words, Sutta ended his narration, leaving Saunaka and the gathered sages deep in thought, their minds filled with the glory of Krishna and the golden age of Yudhishthira's reign.